Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Your Turn with Cliff Woodwards here on Comcast 91, WHPR TV 33, as well as on the web at tv33whpr.com. Even if you have a Roku device, you can watch us on that mobile app, or if you have a cell phone, a tablet, or any other mobile device, just go to your app store, whether it's the Google Play Store or the iTunes Store. Search for the WHPR Now app, download it to either of those devices, and take us along with you wherever you may travel. Glad that you're here along with us today. Is April 28th, I believe it is. And we're going to have a great show coming up in the next hour. I want to remind you, too, as always, Your Turn with Cliff Woodwards is sponsored by the Detroit Law Center. For all of your legal needs, give the Detroit Law Center a call. Family, criminal, civil, personal injury, or bankruptcy. The Detroit Law Center, 313-333-4975. As I said, glad to be here with you. It's a little overcast outside right now, about 42, 43 degrees in the city. We're expecting rain showers off and on for the remainder of the day. The clouds and sun will dry out, and the temperatures will be warming over the next couple of days, finally, once again. Well, since we were here last week, the filing deadline has come and gone, and we are now set for the sprint till August. And it's interesting to see only one individual actually pulled out. Michael Gilmore decided that he wasn't going to run in the 13th district, but if you had a candidate that was running, they still are. Most of the individuals that are running for the 13th district are running in both terms, although Mary Waters and Kentil White are only running in the partial term. Coleman Young is only running in the full term. However, the other individuals are running for both seats. It's interesting, though. Young brother Kentil White made the mistake of not realizing that if you submitted petitions for the partial term, that was good for the full term. I'm not really sure I would have said that to the media, because if it appears that you really don't know how to get on the ballot, can you really do a credible job in Washington representing the 13th district? Nevertheless, I'll be interested in hearing from you, the voters, over the next 50 minutes or so as to what you think the direction of the district is going to go, who your candidate is. Of course, Chantel Jackson made it, Brenda Jones, Ian Conyers, John Conyers III, of course, Bill White, Kimberly Knott, and a few others have filed to run as well. How do you handicap the 13th district? Especially if you live in that area. Do you think that all of these black folk will cancel each other out and perhaps Bill Wild will manage to pull off the nomination, or do you think it will consolidate or coalesce around one African American? What are your thoughts on that? 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. We've seen a number of individuals run in the 4th district for the state house. It's about 17 people, if my memory serves me correctly. I have to look at it, but somewhere between 16 and 17 people have filed in the 4th district. Then the 2nd district is crowded as well. The 2nd district for state senate has some very familiar names in it. Betty Cook Scott, Alberta Tinsley Talabi, and Brian Banks, I think, are all vying for that 2nd district seat. So I want to know what your thoughts are as it relates to the upcoming primary election. We also saw that marijuana, in fact, is going to be on the ballot in November. We talked a little bit about that last week, about the legalization of marijuana, and a lot of you called in and expressed your opinions about it. We had some marijuana smokers who chimed in as well and said that they were for that. Well, it looks like the voters are going to have their say this coming fall in November to determine whether or not marijuana will be legal in Michigan. But there are rumors, though, that the Republicans are going to co-opt that piece of legislation, or that ballot proposal, rather, and perhaps legalize marijuana on their own, so that would reduce the number of folk coming out in the fall to vote for it. It's a way to sort of suppress the Democratic vote and make sure the numbers are lower so that the Republican candidates can actually pull through. So we're interested in your thoughts on that as we progress through this hour and a potpourri of other subjects. After all, this is Your Turn with Cliff Woodards. We're live in the studio on Saturday, April 28th. Let us know what you think about that. 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Even in the 5th District, I really don't like to talk about that too much on the air. I try not to have the stand in the spotlight, so to speak. But Fred Durhal pulled out of the 5th District. He is now running for Ian Conyers' seat in the state Senate. As a result, State Representative Fred Durhal is now running for state Senate. He has withdrawn, and now the 5th District is open. And there are a number of candidates that are running in the 5th District for state rep. And surprisingly, my name is on the ballot. So I am vying to be the representative in Lansing for you if you are living in the 5th District. So we'd like to know what your thoughts are about that as well. It's a little bit of a twist from my judicial aspirations, but if this is a way to serve as well in the meantime, that's something else that will be a possibility. Even the judicial races are set. Vonda Evans did not, after all, run for the Court of Appeals either. She did not file. And so Court of Appeals Judge Thomas Cameron is now running opposed, and he is guaranteed to return and to hang on to his seat in the Court of Appeals. So I also like to know what you think about that as well. A formal complaint was filed against Judge Evans by a particular lawyer in the suburbs, and I thought that that was kind of interesting that a suburban lawyer made that complaint to the Judicial Tenure Commission as opposed to anyone who is in the building in Frank Murphy every single day. What are your thoughts about that as well? Do you think that she's being singled out by suburban lawyers or individuals in the perhaps even judiciary, her own colleagues? What are your thoughts about that? And look at that as it relates to her being an African American and running against, in essence, the white establishment. We can also talk a little bit too as well. I'm sure, unless you've been sleeping for the last 24 hours, Bill Cosby was found guilty yesterday in his retrial. As you know, the first trial ended in a mistrial. They could not decide, but yesterday Bill Cosby was found guilty. So we'd like to know what your thoughts are about that, too, as we go forward. What's that day before yesterday? I can't even remember now. The days are beginning to blend. Nevertheless, he was found guilty as we go forward. So I want to know what you think about that, too. 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Is this a indication that the Me Too movement has snagged its first defendant in a criminal case? One of the things that interested me too is some of the women that I saw commenting on social media about how glad that they were that Bill Cosby was found guilty, and now that women can be taken seriously and that this behavior has to stop. Some of the women that I saw who were angry about others looking at this from a black and white lens, especially as it relates to Donald Trump. Some of those women who were rejoicing over his conviction were the same women that were in the concert going to see Uncle Charlie and R. Kelly. I'm not sure what to make of that. But nevertheless, what are your thoughts on Bill Cosby and his career? Do you think he should go to jail? He can get up to 10 years on each of the 3 counts. But what is it that you'd like to see as the judge begins to fashion his sentence when he returns to court in 60 to 90 days? Do you think that it was fair for other women to come in and testify as to what they suffered at his hands, although he was never charged for those crimes? What are your thoughts on that? 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Don't start calling at 1:30 and then the time runs out and you start complaining we didn't have enough time to weigh in. Now is the time to get in on this discussion because these are some interesting factors as we go forward. They even had allegations against Tom Brokaw over the last couple of days from women coming out of the woodwork from something that they were accusing him of almost 25 years ago, to which he has vehemently denied, and other women who work for NBC have stood by him strongly and have written a collective letter talking about how much they appreciated what he did to advance their careers and how he was always the consummate gentleman and professional. But nevertheless, do you believe now that Bill Cosby really was this predator, this sexual predator, as he was made out to be, that some 60 women came out and said that he did these things or accused him of inappropriate behavior leading up to and including sexual assault? What sentence would you like to see Mr. Cosby receive as a result of that? Give us a call, 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Let's get this discussion underway. It is your turn with Cliff Woodwards right here at Comcast 91. We're also on the Roku device if you have one of those, as well as we have our own mobile app, WHPR Now. Just look for it in your app store, the Google Play Store or the iTunes Store. Download it to your tablet or your cell phone and take us along with you wherever you may travel. In the meantime, we're live in the studio now, April 28th. Where are you? I would like to hear from the callers as we get underway this afternoon. And what are your thoughts on the topics that have been in the news over the last couple of days? We're on the local side. We've been talking about the candidate list is set and who you want to vote for, especially as it relates to the 13th, if you're living in the 13th district, and or your state rep, state senator, or your judges. Those races are all done, and you can get set to start learning about your candidates and the issues and who you'd like to vote for. And on the national scene, Bill Cosby was found guilty the other day, and your thoughts on that. What do you think his sentence should be? Given the fact that he's 80 years old and he has no criminal record, do you think that the judge, in essence, should throw the book at him, or should he receive a minimum sentence given his health challenges that he has? Because anything longer than a minimum sentence would, in essence, be a death sentence for him. 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Let's get this conversation started. I'd certainly like to hear from you this Saturday afternoon. Good afternoon. It's your turn with Cliff Woodwards. You're on the air.
Hey, Cliff, I'm out and about, so I don't know what your subject is. I was going to call you something.
We're talking locally about the election being set for the 13th district, as well as your state rep, state senate, and judges. And then on the national level, Bill Cosby, as you know, was convicted. And I'm interested in to know what you think his sentence ought to be. Do you think justice was done?
No, I think that was a disservice. Could you explain to me, was there any statutes of limitation on any of these Me Too?
Yes, there was a statute of limitations, of course, and this particular woman that he was accused of victimizing, the statute of limitations was just about up, and they got in at the under the wire at the last minute.
Okay, I find that perfectly strange. But if you don't play the game, then this is what happens. They defame your name and take away all the good that you are. They will definitely take that away. And it doesn't matter if you're black and white. If you ain't in the game, then you will be defamed and restrained. Thank you for taking my call.
Well, before you disappear, though, don't go anywhere yet. Before you disappear, what do you think about the fact that Bill Cosby himself said that he gave quaaludes to these women to relax them beforehand?
But you know, in Hollywood, it's full of drugs, sex, and grown folks knowing what they walking into when they walk up on that set. They know what they about to do. They want to come innocent. They holier than thou right now. But who knows but the two of them, how the drugs got involved in the first place. Well, we know Hollywood is all set up with all those types of pictures.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right.
Bye,
313.
love.
All right. Love you too. 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Let us know what you think about the Me Too conviction of Bill Cosby. Good afternoon. You're on the air. It's your turn with Cliff Woodards.
Hi, Cliff.
Hi.
I'm thinking, I'm a bit ambivalent about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bill Cosby absolutely had no business doing that, if he did do it, okay, in terms of raping these women and giving them drugs. But I also think that the women have some responsibility as grown persons. First of all, I'm going to go to somebody's hotel room and take a pill that they give me. Okay, now wait a minute. I don't want to take pills my doctor gives me. Okay, so why would I take a pill from Bill Cosby? Okay, and why would I be up in his room handling business? I think there's some responsibility there. However, even in that particular context, he had no right to be taking advantage of people in that respect. And that's kind of the way I feel about it, you know. I just can't see myself getting caught up with some stuff like that. I mean, in all of our professions, you know, for professional people, many, many times they get caught in the crosshairs of trying to, you know, advance their career and maybe, you know, stepping a little over the line or way over the line to move up, you know, in that corporate world. But as far as me personally, I'm not taking no pills from nobody. Okay, I'm just not doing that. You know, so I can see maybe if he, like, you know, drugged them and they didn't know they were being drugged. Like, you know, he's just having a drink and he's got something already in there.
Mm-hmm.
Then, hey,
That's something different.
That's ridiculous. But if he offered you something that you knew that was going to, quotation mark, relax you, to me, you owe some you own a little responsibility on that. Why do I have to be relaxed just because I'm coming to talk to you?
Well, you know, let me chime in for a second. The first caller, what she said, and she called it Holly Weird, where everybody takes drugs out there. And that's a generalization I probably shouldn't really say.
Yeah.
But drug use is widespread. How about if we just say that? So could you make an argument for the fact that although the woman popped a pill, that in of itself is not uncommon, but she didn't expect to be sexually assaulted after she took the pill?
I understand that, but I guess I can't understand, okay, I'm going on a business meeting to meet with you about my career or some whatever. Why in the heck would I want to be high when I'm negotiating my career? I don't get that. It doesn't register with me. I mean, seriously.
Well, you know, I guess, and I'd extend that one further. Why would I have a business meeting
In somebody's room.
Yes.
See,
Or even your house.
Red flags, orange flags, green flags, all kind of flags. That something is not going to be on the up and up. It means that you are expected to, or know you're going to have to give up something to get over this business deal.
And you know what's funny?
You walking in there, because how many interviews take place in somebody's bedroom with a pill involved?
And you know what's funny is, and the second caller on line two, I'm going to get you in a second, but hang on, please. What's funny is you just reminded me of how I met my second wife. Years ago, this was 24 years ago now. I ran a graphic design and print shop. A lot of you knew that I was into printing. But nevertheless, I had these clients who I had printed their wedding invitation and wedding programs for. And in the meantime, the bride had a niece that needed some business cards done. And so the bride told the niece about me and the quality of work that I did. And so the niece then called me shortly thereafter and wanted to come by and have me design and print the cards. And I was running the business out of my house. And so on this particular Saturday, when the niece was supposed to come by, she did. And she was there maybe about 15 or 20 minutes as we were chatting. And then all of a sudden, her aunt and the husband just popped by. And I let them in because we had developed a friendship at that point, so they came by. Long story short, after the niece and I started talking and dating, she actually confessed. She said, They really didn't pop by. She just wanted to make sure that she would be okay because she was going to a strange man's house that she had never met. So they personally, they specifically timed their drop in 15 minutes after she got there to make sure she was okay. And
understand that.
exactly. And she was young then. She was, I think, 24 at the time. And so if you think these women out in Hollywood who are in their late 20s, early 30s at that time, they should have been just as responsible because they were going there perhaps in the evening or the later hours as well.
That's what I'm talking about. But true, I'm not trying to blame the victim. I know somebody's going to probably call in and say, well, you're saying the same thing if somebody wears some skin-tight, short skirts or something that they deserve to be raped. But absolutely not. I'm not going there. But I am saying if I put myself in a position, and I've got good sense, I'm not mentally impaired, I'm not slow or something wrong with me, but I go in and I know I'm going for a job interview or going to talk some business about contracts or something. Why would I want to go in some man's bedroom and take a pill? It just
that's just asking.
Me, I can't roll with that.
Yeah.
I just can't.
All right. Thank you so much for chatting this afternoon. I appreciate your views.
You're welcome.
Have a great evening. Good afternoon. You're on the air. It's your turn with Cliff Woodwards.
Hi, Cliff.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
Yes, the Bill Cosby, I think this thing was just set up to take him down. You couldn't get me in a hotel room. Not even Jesus could get me in a hotel room and offer me a pill. And you know he wouldn't do that. But the thing is, these women went to his room for something, and I think it was more than finding out about getting a contract for being on TV or whatever. And they found out that some of these women were nothing but mere prostitutes. Now, the one he went down for, she continued to travel with him and call him, is what they said. So if he was sexually assaulting you, evidently you liked it because you couldn't stay away from it. Sometimes women have to take, how would you say it? They have to take responsibilities for what they do. I never went to a man's apartment when they offered me because I said maybe he wants to do something I ain't ready to do. If I went to a hotel, I was willing to play. So evidently, you wanted something more from Bill Cosby. So they need to just cut it out. This is a thing to take another black man down, and it's always a black man end up being the poster child. For murder, for rape, you name it, it's always the black man end up being the poster child. So you have a great day, Cliff.
All right. Thank you a lot for sharing your views this afternoon. You have a great rest of the weekend. 313-868-4336, 868-0342, 868-0351. I'd like to hear what you have to say. We're talking about the conviction of Bill Cosby in criminal court earlier this week on sexual assault charges. Of course, you know that he was found, actually the trial resulted in a mistrial 10 months ago. In this particular trial, he was convicted. 4 additional women were allowed to testify as to what he did to them, even though no charges were brought in those cases because of the statute of limitations. And as a result, he was convicted. He faces up to 10 years on each of the 3 counts. Let me know what you think about it. We're going to take a break. We're at the bottom of the hour. You're watching Your Turn with Cliff Woodwards, sponsored as always by the Detroit Law Center. We'll be right back right after this. And we're back. Welcome to Your Turn with Cliff Woodwards here at the bottom of the hour, working our way up towards the 2 o'clock spot. You are watching live on WHPR TV 33 in Highland Park and Detroit. You can also catch us using your Roku device, but if you have a tablet or cell phone and you are dying to get out of the house, just search for the WHPR Now app, download it to your mobile device, whether it's a tablet or a cell phone, and you can take us along with you. We're just not the only program that you can do so. All of the great programming here on WHPR is available mobily, so you can take us on the road as you travel. Just be careful to do so if you're driving. If you have an old school, what do you call those things, those desktop computers that folks used to have, you can go to the web, and you can catch us on the web, too, at tv33whpr.com. Welcome back. Your Turn with Cliff Woodwards, as always, is sponsored by the Detroit Law Center. For all of your legal needs, give the Detroit Law Center a call, 313-333-4975. Whether it's criminal, personal injury, family, bankruptcy, or civil, give the Detroit Law Center a call, 313-333-4975. We've been talking the last half hour primarily about what your thoughts are with the conviction of Bill Cosby earlier this week. As you know, his earlier trial resulted in a mistrial, so the prosecutor put him back on trial again, and he was convicted of sexual assault, 3 counts, and he is looking at up to 10 years in prison on each and every count. Do you think justice was served in that particular case? What are your thoughts on his conviction? We've heard from a few callers this afternoon where they thought that he was just a scapegoat and another black man, a successful black man, taken down by the system. Is that what you think? Some of those callers were saying that they were, of course, not trying to blame the victim, but did the victims use common sense and good judgment when they went to Mr. Cosby's house or to a hotel, wherever it is that they went, and willingly consumed drugs and then were sexually assaulted when they were in a state of semi-consciousness or unconscious altogether? Your thoughts on that, 868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Let's get this discussion back on track, and I'd like to know what you're thinking about that. More locally, some of the topics that we set up this afternoon for you is that the 13th District race is all set. We want to know what your thoughts are with respect to what candidate you may be supporting and why, what the issues are that are facing Detroit as we work towards this election coming up in August. As we know, our August primary is basically the general election as opposed to waiting until November. Who you vote for in August typically is who will win in November, hands down. So what are your thoughts on that? I'm interested in. And in fact, there was something that happened yesterday that struck my attention. I have a rant about that coming up at the end of the show about the paintball wars that's happening in the city of Detroit. One individual got caught yesterday. I have some thoughts about that as well. But let me know about your thoughts about Bill Cosby. I'm really interested in what you have to say, especially as what you think his sentence should be, if at all, if you even think he should have been convicted. There are a lot of individuals who believe that finally he was caught and the things that he did to over 60 women is now being held accountable. This will enable women to not be afraid to come out of the shadows and actually report sexual assault? Or do you think he was just brought down by the system because he was a successful black man? 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Good afternoon. You're on the air, and it's your turn with Cliff Woodwards.
What's up, Brother Woodward? How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, everybody knows this whole thing is a straight-up lie. I mean, how often have we all, when we were young and pink, and we didn't get with our girlfriend, buy us a drink, go to the store, or whatever you got your buzz on with, and later on you got with the woman and had sex. You know what I'm saying?
Well, hang on. Let me answer that. Let me answer that question though. Buying your girl a drink and inviting her over.
No, it was a drink to share.
Okay. All right.
So it's not just me buying a drink. It's like, let's get a bottle and go home and fix us a good dinner. And, it wasn't about getting the girl drunk so you can have sex with her. The girl was in all agreement How many times have you even seen it on television when somebody comes to the house, do you want to drink? You always ask somebody, do they want to drink? And then the girls get drunk, and y'all decide to have sex, and 20 years later, she want to charge you with rape. What kind of crap is that?
Well, I guess, do you see a difference between giving a girl a sleeping pill and then her passing out and then being sexually assaulted versus both of you all drinking and then having sex while y'all are both drunk but still conscious? I guess I see it differently, you know.
Well, I don't.
Because at least in your situation,
I don't see Bill Cosby. Just think about this.
uh-huh.
Here's Bill Cosby. He's in television. He's making all kind of money. You really think he would have to go through the trouble of drugging a woman for sex? Just think about that. He got all kind of money. You don't have to drug no woman to have no sex with her. You understand? As far as bringing a black man down, name one that the Europeans have brought down, even counting Clinton and Michael Jackson. These guys, look, you know, when somebody gets high, they know, most people know their limit. Come on now. Most people know their limit. My limit may be 2 drinks, then I'm getting in my car and driving home, or my limit may be 2 drinks and I'm through it. These guys knew their limit of drugs that they were taking. They were not OD of something they've been taking to eat.
But see, the girls, though, that were coming over weren't coming over to Netflix and chill. They were coming over to talk about their career and to, you know, look for job opportunities or mentoring. And he gave them a Mickey, basically. And then the chick passed out, and then he did it to her. That, to me, is
That's
different.
what they said.
Huh?
That's just, well, he said he did.
He said, yes, he did. He said that he gave them Quaaludes. No, he said he gave them Quaaludes. In fact,
How many people have given other people Quaaludes?
Say that
All
again?
the people that gave, what you call them, drugs. Give all the musician drugs. You like Natalie Cole. She wasn't using no cocaine. They introduced cocaine to Natalie Cole. It was the other girl's name that died OD'd on drugs. These people give them drugs. People were giving people drugs. It's like right now we give people opioids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then somebody died from it. You understand? These people aren't getting as much time or being sued like Bill Cosby. I believe what Bill Cosby said, which is he didn't give them nothing. Everything, drugs that they took because they wanted to take them.
But
These
see,
were broke women looking for something.
But see, in a deposition, and I pulled it up in the deposition regarding the civil case. Cosby answered questions from the woman's attorney, the same one that had him prosecuted. The attorney said, "When you got the Quaaludes, was it in your mind that you were going to use these Quaaludes for young women that you wanted to have sex with?" And he answered, "Yes." Then the next question was, did you ever give any of those young women the Quaaludes without their knowledge? And then Cosby's attorney objected and told him not to answer the question. Now, the thing is, if I'm going to admit that I gave Quaaludes to these young girls that I wanted to sleep with, that's different, man, than saying, okay, we're going to get a bottle and we're going back to my house and we're going to Netflix and chill. That way the young woman knows, like, in fact, there was an older lady that called in and she said back in her day when she went to the hotel, she knew why she went there. It was to play. So a woman, even when alcohol isn't mentioned, you know what it means on social media if you ask a girl to come over and Netflix and chill. And in fact, there's a lot of guys out here now that will ask a girl, you want to come over and smoke, which means the same thing now. If the woman comes over there to smoke, it's also sex going to be involved. And so at least when those questions are asked and when the woman comes over, she knows that sex is a possibility and she rarely, if ever, loses consciousness.
Okay, tell me this. You said how many women did he did this to? 20, you say?
There were 60 that came forward.
Okay. Let's use the number 60.
Mm-hmm.
You mean number 60 woman, that's the 60th woman, didn't know what was going on with Bill Cosby and girls from experience of the other 59. In other words, these women should have heard of what would happen to them if they was kicking it with Bill Cosby. In other words, these girls would have went up and told them, look, don't go with Bill Cosby. I went over there. I don't know what happened. He gave me a drink of water, and I got dizzy. So what I'm saying is these 40, 50, and 60 women, they never heard about what happened to woman number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and so on. They had to have heard.
Well,
and they went on up in there anyway.
I understand that, but what women will tell you, and you and I have never been in that situation, so I don't even want to presume this, but what women will tell you is that they feel ashamed and they feel guilty, like they did something wrong, it was their fault, and thus they don't mention it to anyone. A lot of women, a lot of sexual assault victims will tell you that they thought that they were the only one that that happened to, and they felt responsible because they knew it was stupid for what they did. So they don't want to tell anybody. And in fact, let me give you an example of how you as a man can relate to that. I have always said, and y'all gonna have fun with this, I've always said that there are 4 types of women. Okay, this is barbershop talk on live TV. There are 4 types of women. The first type of women A, the A-lister, is the woman you proud to take on your arm. She's smart, she's independent, she's sexy. You can take her out, show her off to your family, your friends in public. This my boo. Got it?
Right.
There's a B-list woman. She is also pretty. She probably has a great figure, but there's just a little something wrong. She might say scrimps. Or she might have bright red hair, something that you really don't necessarily want her to take her around where you know people. You'll take her way over to the east side by Partridge Creek and take her out somewhere where nobody know you. There's a third group, the C-lister, where she's good enough, she might have a banging figure, but she might be jacked up in the face. So you don't want to take her out, but she's good enough for you to get over your house and do. Then finally, there's that D-list woman where you don't even tell your boys you did that. Now tell me you have not met a D-girl before.
I have met all 4.
Exactly. So now my point, so now you understand. There may be a woman or 2 or 3 of them that fall in that 4th category that you ain't told your best friend she came over your house and you did it. So now do you see how some sexual assault victims feel so ashamed over what they did that they don't even want to tell their best girlfriend?
But I still don't understand how this man can go through 60 women, and before he gets to number 60, every girl from 10 to 60 never heard about what Bill Cosby did with the other 50. There's no way in the world that they didn't hear. And if they heard something negative about what Bill Cosby is doing, then why wouldn't they go up and get with him or meet him in his private place after that?
I can answer that. I can answer that question too. I can answer that question too. Now, this one I don't want you to answer at all because that'd be putting your business in the street. Do all of your former... Oh, did you hang up? Looks like you hung up. Call back. But do all of your former friends that you've kicked it with, do they know each other? I'll bet you'll say no. We as men purposely... Let me see if this is you back. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Is this you back?
Yes.
Okay.
If all my friends,
I said, all the ladies that you have dated, do they all know each other? We as men make sure they don't know each other. That's the whole point. We don't go around getting with girl A and then trying to holler at her best friend girl B and then girl B's cousin girl C. No, that's some nasty stuff. So of all the women that you've dated in the past, I doubt if any of them know each other. And so...
Okay, I agree with you on that.
Right. So the fact that Bill Cosby, over the span of 20 or 30 years, got with 60 women, and let's say that's a span of 30 years, all right? That's basically an average of 2 women a year. If it's 60...
But they had to have heard about...
Not if they haven't...
Just like Trump. Take Trump for instance. I mean, after you done heard what Trump said in the trailer to that chick,
Mm-hmm.
then chick, after they done heard, everybody know about that. And then all of a sudden, this last chick, Daniel, she done heard about what happened in the trailer.
Because
and she still kicked it with her.
And because what happens is once it becomes public, then other women will go, and that's where we get the hashtag Me Too. And so I'm not surprised at all that so many of these women felt ashamed and kept that stuff to themselves. And so all it did was take one person to pull the plug on the dam, and then everything came out. Because all of those women were saying, wait a minute, all this time I thought I was the only one that he did this to. So now they'll tell their story. And then that leads that girl over here to tell her story. And then this woman over here to tell hers. So I can see how over that long period of time, a quarter of a century, that's a long time. And 60 is a lot of women. But for a time frame of 25 to 30 years, 60 is not. That's an average of just one every 6 months. So
I don't know, man. But let me ask you this last question, and I'm gonna let you go.
Mm-hmm.
How many men out there do you think a woman cannot say there was some form of abuse? How many out there? I mean, what man out there do you think that is not vulnerable to being accused of doing something negative to a girl? None of us. Every woman out there right now who ever dated a man can go before a court and say, this guy did this and I'm pressing charges. Or he raped this. There is none. Why do you think so many of them are falling? Now they got these two major news guys. You understand? This guy kissed me. This guy grabbed my butt. I mean, what guy out there who can't be accused of it? There is none. There's not one walking the face of the earth who can't be accused of what these women are saying being done to them. And I'm going to let you get some more calls. And thanks for taking more calls, Ms. Boo.
All right, thank you for that. Well, the answer to that question then is you have to make sure that you are associating with women who have a full deck, who are good quality character-driven women, who have something going for themselves as opposed to perhaps some deranged thought out there. Yeah, I said it. And those women, and you know that other barbershop lingo, there's a reason why men fool around with crazy women. But sometimes that can backfire, and you can catch a case over it. In fact, was it last week? It was either last week or week before last. I represented a young man in court. He was on parole. He was released from prison on parole and on GPS tether. His ex got him charged with a parole violation, and he caught a case as a result of her accusations. He got a case of felonious assault, which then triggered his parole violation because she claimed he pulled up on her and tried to run her over with his car. The only thing that Dodo forgot was that he was on GPS tether, and all they had to do was pull the GPS records to show that he was nowhere near that scene at the time. And the parole board dismissed his parole violation. And I'm expecting when I go back to court next week, the people are going to dismiss the case against him outright. And so that's why you have to be careful of what type of woman you associate yourself with so you don't wind up in these situations falsely accused. 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. We got about 8 minutes left. If you'd like to weigh in about your thoughts about the conviction of Bill Cosby earlier this week by Ms. Constant. He was convicted of 3 counts. He's facing up to 10 years in prison on all 3 charges. He will be back in court for sentencing within 60 to 90 days. I'm interested in what you think an 80-year-old legally blind man should receive in terms of a sentence. Should he go to prison? Should he be given jail time? Should he receive probation? Now, the interesting thing about this is because it's such a high-profile case, is this going to be used to send a message to the community? If the judge decides to use leniency and let him stay out of prison, What message does that send to the general community about valuing women when they step up to complain and file actual criminal charges against sexual assault perpetrators? So does this automatically seem like Bill Cosby has to go to prison because this is a high-profile case? What are your thoughts about that? 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Good afternoon. You're on the air. It's your turn with Cliff Woodwards.
Hello, yes. I think it's wrong. We have to do jail time.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, he was, like, elder, and he's going to die in jail. I don't think he did the whole time.
Okay, so if he was 40, do you think he should go to prison?
Yes, I would think he should go.
If what?
But I just don't think he did it because he was on the show for all these years while he was touch those other women.
You said you don't think he did it because he was on a show what?
Because of the show he did, the little episode they used to come on TV, Bill Cosby, like, it was a lot of beautiful women. Like, why wouldn't he touch them?
Well, you know, a lot of times people don't necessarily, well, what's that saying? You don't dip where you eat. In other words, you don't date people where you work. So if you think about it, the individuals that were on that show the women that were on that show were very established actresses. And for a large part of the time, the three young women were underaged. At least two of them were underage until Lisa Bonet. I'm not sure how old Lisa Bonet was when she first started, but those were underage girls. The only adult woman on the show was Felicia Rashad, who was his wife. Sure, there may have been other guest actresses, but the people that were constantly on that show, they were underage. So I can see why he didn't do anything with them.
Okay, that's true. But like, a pedophile is a pedophile.
Well, he's not a pedophile. He was never charged as being a pedophile. He just was having criminal sexual conduct with women, in essence, having sex with women against their will while they were drugged and unconscious. No one has ever accused him.
So you'll be considered as a sick person, a sick individual.
Say that again?
You'll be considered a sick individual. So if you got that sickness, you're not gonna have no limit to who you do it to. It's gonna be actually like it's gonna always happen.
Well, he did. He was never accused of victimizing a child. So let's clear that up right now. These were grown women that willingly went to him, but they did not go to be drugged and then assaulted. All right. Let me get to some more calls. Thank you. I appreciate it this afternoon. Good afternoon. You're on the air. It's your turn with Cliff Woodwards.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I agree with everything you said, Cliff, and I'm glad you're clarifying everything. But one of the things I haven't heard any caller say, and this needs to be stated, he's a married man.
Yes. You know, it's funny, Bill Maher on HBO, when he said the same thing you just said in his monologue yesterday, he said, everything you're saying about Bill Cosby, they're saying, you know, what about the fact that he's blind? No, he's not the only one that's blind. What about his wife? You know, and what did Camille, I guess the question can be asked like it was in Watergate years ago. Okay. What did Camille know and when did she know it?
Right.
You know.
It's so true. You know, everyone's talking about all these women, but the fact here is a married man. He's a married man. Now, come on now.
You know, and was she the type of wife that knew about his behavior and decided to look the other way because of the lifestyle that she was accustomed, or was she really in the dark, no pun intended, about his behavior for all of that time?
Right. Well, basically, certainly it's a sad situation. But
It really is.
It is what it is.
It really is.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it this afternoon. You're watching Your Turn with Cliff Woodwards here on Comcast 91. We're also on digital TV 33 as well as over the web at tv33whpr.com. I really enjoyed this hour. It always goes by relatively quickly when I have great participation as I had today. After all, without your calls, comments, suggestions, thoughts, opinions, and yes, even criticism, it wouldn't be Your Turn with Cliff Woodwards. I want to thank my producer in the booth who has done an outstanding job bringing this show to you this week, filling in for RJ who had to make a run earlier this afternoon. We appreciate both of those young men's help. Also have to give a shout out to RJ Watkins Sr. because after all, without him, I wouldn't even be able to come and sit in this chair every Saturday at 1 o'clock. It's about time that I got out of here. I'll see you back here in the same seat next Saturday if, as my grandmother used to say, the good Lord is willing and the creek don't rise. That's a wrap. Take us on out of here.